Alright guys, so welcome back to another horror-filled video, because it's October and I like to make horror videos. I mean, original, I know! Been doing this a very long time, very long time. But today I did want to do a video on 90s horror, which I think is kind of an overlooked era of the genre, because 70s is kind of the big boom, 80s the big slasher, 2000s was the vicious era, and then 2010 onward kind of did more introspective type horror, more thinking horror. 90s though, I felt is a really interesting era. One, I grew up in the 90s, so it's a big era for me, but even more so, it's an era that tried something new, something fresh, a lot more meta, a lot more comedy horror, and it was somewhat interesting. And as you can see throughout this list, I can't even show you the entire list of movies because there's so many. I'm going to scroll down just a little. And look at this. This is a massive, massive amount of movies. And these aren't even all the 90s horrors, but these are some of the most known, some of the most beloved, some of the most hated are all right here. And I'm so excited to finally jump into here and kind of give my opinion on some of my favorite horror movies of all time that are on this list. So I say, without any further ado, let's get right into this massive list. And some of these will be quick because, you know, I don't got all year. Alright, so Devil's Advocate. So before he became John Wick, he was the man, the devil. No, this is just kind of a movie about this law firm that is ran by the devil, or a human version of Mr. Satan himself. And yeah, it's kind of more of a courtroom drama, definitely more leaning into the drama side of it, but it has horrific moments. I would argue that this is more of a thriller side of horror than like creepy or unsettling, but overall it's a movie that I grew up with. It's a movie that my mother actually showed me when I was probably way too young, probably about 8 or 9, and I watched it and I enjoyed it. The performances are really good, but overall it's not something that I can recall like moments other than I remember watching this movie a lot when I was younger. So it's kind of in the middle where I can't put it you know, quite high up there in like the S, A, or B, but I think it's a high C for something that kind of stuck with me all these years as something I watched a lot when I was younger. Next up is Army of Darkness. Now this one's going to be a movie I'm going to get a lot of hate for, and I'm so sorry. I'm glitching out because I know I'm going to get the hate, but I don't like Army of Darkness. It's actually my least favorite Evil Dead movie. Now, it's not horrible. I think I gave it a C in my ranking of the Evil Dead series, and that's kind of where it is. It's the lower end of the C for me. It has some funny moments, it has some cool moments, but overall it's my least favorite Evil Dead movie of all the Evil Dead movies. I much prefer 2. I much prefer the remake. I prefer the Rising one. Pretty much any of them I enjoyed more than this. This just didn't do it for me. The comedy was too heavy, and there were a lot of misses. Even though there were some really funny moments, there were a lot of misses for me. So with that, that's just going to go in the lower C. So Blair Witch Project was a very, very big horror movie for my generation. If you're in your mid-30s or late 30s or even 40s, this movie probably was one of the biggest horror movie campaigns you've ever seen. People thought this was real. People thought these people actually got lost in the forest and died. People thought there were witches for a while. That's how crazy this movie was. I actually snuck into this theater when I was a kid to watch this movie, and as a kid I was like, this isn't that scary. And you know, watching it years later, it's really not that scary, but it is effective for the campaign purposes. This movie's legendary in my opinion, but as far as the movie itself, judging it here, it's another C. Again, I think there's cool moments. There are some really creepy moments, especially there's this one moment at night in the tent where the creature is outside of the tent. Definitely intense, but overall the ending is not one of my favorites. I actually much prefer the remake ending, or whatever they call it, the reimagined ending of that one. But overall, for campaign wise, I think it's so good it's hard to put it low in the C, but it's definitely as just a movie that obviously was a big impact or in my childhood, I'm gonna go in the high C for this one. All right, so The Bone Collector. You know what, when I was a kid, it's kind of interesting. When I watched this as a kid, I didn't like it that much, and I watched it again, and yeah, I still don't like it that much. I get the nostalgia for it and that people love this movie, and of course you have some big actors and actresses in here, so it has more of a powerhouse performance in some of these movies I like more. But overall, I didn't really like this movie growing up. I saw the twist coming, and that was before my mind developed this fucking special sense to just always predict what's going to happen in movies, which is both a curse and a great thing at the same time. So for this, I'm putting in the D. It's just not for me. Oh, fuck. Here we go. I can sense you looking at me and saying, this fucking fat piece of shit doesn't like any good movies, but I don't like Bride of Chucky that much. It does have its moments. I think there's some hilarious moments like the sex scene, but overall, this is not the Chucky I really adore. You know, Child's Play 1 and Child's Play 2 are really great horror flicks for me. I really enjoy them, but this one, I did not like it. I didn't really find it that funny outside of a couple of moments, and there are a couple cool kills. The glass shatter's kind of cool, but, and the ending's fucking disgusting, but, yeah, I think it's like, okay. Again, it's in the C. I probably enjoyed a little bit more than Army of Darkness, but not great. We're hitting a lot of C's here, a lot of C notes. Woohoo! That wasn't a C. All right, now we're talking about Buffy the movie. Listen, if you're a fan of the TV show like me, I love the TV show. Again, I'm saying this because half of this shit I grew up on, but I grew up with the TV show. I fucking love Buffy. I showed my wife like 7 years ago. We binge watched the entire show and Angel. Great show. This movie, absolutely a dog shit piece of motherfucking garbage. I think this movie is literally one of the worst fucking movies I've seen. I wish I just made a fucking ranking for fuck this fucking movie. I didn't, but this is a fuck you fucking movie. Fuck this movie. Alright, so Candyman. I only saw this once when I was a kid, and then I watched it again before the new movie came out a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed this movie rewatching it as an adult. I guess I caught a lot more of what it was talking about, the commentary and overall, but also the performances. Oh, Todd, you killed it, man. That voice, the main actress is great. The psychological warfare parts are really great. Yeah, Candyman is definitely a shining example of the 90s, where it tried to do a lot of commentary on the overall social issues that they have in those, you know, in the ghettos and stuff, and the housing and stuff, and I fucking loved all of that. On top of that, great performances and some gnarly kills. I'm saying gnarly. Oh, you Jesus, the 90s is coming at me. The 90s. How fucking cool is this shirt, by the way? I love this shirt. That's going in the motherfucking A. It's not quite S. S is for movies that I've rewatched a million times, but A, it is up there for me. All right, The Craft. Fucking S, baby. What putting this? Nah, I'm just joking. No, I haven't watched The Craft in like literally 20 years, so I don't remember if I like this movie. I know it's like loved by many, but when I watched it, I was just kind of like, it's okay. I'm not a big witch person most times, so you know. So I think I'm gonna just put it in the C because I don't fucking remember, but I don't remember hating it like Buffy. Fuck you, Buffy. All right, so we got Halloween. That is Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. So I'm not a big hater of this movie. I actually like a lot of the cinematography of this movie. I also like some of the kills in this movie. The plot is absolutely, you know, dog poo-poo. That's no motherfucking doubt. But overall, it was okay. Is it a B, though? No, it can't be. So I'm going to put it in the C. Probably right between Blair Witch and everything, where I think it's overhated, but also it's not a good movie. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck this Dracula. That's a heavens. All right, so Deep Blue Sea. Movie I actually saw in the theaters with my mama. It was fucking crazy. The sharks knew where your motherfucking would. They knew what they were doing, and sharks aren't all that smart. I don't think so anyway. I gotta read about that. But the sharks in this movie, they had the mind of basically a human. They were able to outsmart us. I mean, this is cheesy B-flick garbage, but at the same time, it's so entertaining. I've seen this movie, I don't know, 10, 11 times. And it's fucking sharks eating people. So that like never really gets old for me. So that's not quite an A, but you know, it's going into B. It's a B motherfucking entertaining movie. Dracula, I gotta be honest, I saw this so long ago, I'm not even gonna rate it because I don't want to say it's good or bad. All right, so Event Horizon, one of the most beloved sci-fi B movies. It's not like the level of Aliens or anything, and for good reason. It has a great atmosphere. This is what the best part of the movie is, especially the first half of this movie. If it was based on the first half, this is kind of sliding into the A for me. I like sci-fi horror, but then the second half, not quite as good. But overall, still a really entertaining movie. I personally really enjoyed, despite the weird nosedive of quality at the second half. And overall, if you like movies like Alien stuff, I think you would enjoy Event Horizon. So I'm going to put that in the B for me. It's right near Deep Blue Sea. They're about tied as issued, like they have issues, but they're also entertaining. God, this list is so fucking big. All right, so The Faculty. This is absolutely one of my favorite horror movies in the 90s. I'm gonna just be honest. I think the cast is great. I think the fucking story is so fun. I think the pacing is really good. This is probably the best part of the movie, is that I am never ever bored watching this movie. I think the fact that we have these high school kids trying to survive an alien invasion, but it's low-key kind of like The Thing, really fucking works for me. So I think that adding all those elements, I mean, you have to take into account, you got the 90s vibe and cheese, but that's what I grew up in. So to me, this is very relatable. Like, I remember these times. I wasn't in high school in the 90s, but you know what I mean. But overall, Faculty is one of my favorite horror movies in the 90s, and I'm actually going to put that in the S simply because it's a movie I've seen countless times. I used to watch this movie like every fucking weekend with my friend. One of my favorite horror movies of the 90s. One of my favorite just general fun horror movies. It's not the greatest horror movie on this list, which we'll get to, but it's one of my favorites. Oh, Flatliners. So I've never been a fan of this movie. I know they remade it and it was 10 times worse. But I've never been a fan of the original either. It's not quite as bad as Buffy, but it's kind of with Bone Collector, where people seem to have this nostalgia feel for it. And of course, you could say the same thing about probably Deep Blue Sea or Event Horizon for me. But yeah, not a fan of Flatliners. So that's so The Frighteners. This was pretty good. Hopefully I'm getting this one right. I think this is the one with Michael J. Fox. God, I hope I'm not wrong and thinking of a different movie, but I didn't see this movie when I was a kid. I actually saw this when I was about 19 or 20. My boss at the time where I was working kept mentioning how much he enjoyed this movie, and I watched it, and I didn't love it. It was enjoyable. It felt more spooky than scary. But yeah, overall, it's kind of in that C section, probably right over here, where I would watch it again if someone's like, hey, you want to watch this? I haven't seen it in like 15, 16 years, but that's it. Dusk to Dawn. I'm not a big fan of this movie either. I think there's some really good parts. Let me state that. There are some really good parts I love in this movie, but as a movie as a whole, I never really want to rewatch this movie. Like, I'll just go on YouTube and watch the fucking couple of bar parts, like when they first come in and everything. But overall, this movie is not a vampire movie where I'm like, you must see this. It's just not. Now, again, this is where you guys, as big fans of horror, are like, does this guy like any good movies? I don't know, really. I don't know what's wrong with me, but this movie's not for me. So Dusk to Dawn, that's going to go in the C. Again, not a terrible movie. I'll probably put it in front of Bride just because it does have better moments, but yeah. Alright, so The Good Son. Another movie my mother showed me as a child. So probably not the best movie to show your child, your boy, your good son. But this is fucked up. So at the time that I watched this, I was like 9 or 10. I've only seen Home Alone a billion times. So that's what who I knew this character as. I haven't even seen Lord of the Rings yet because it wasn't out yet. So I didn't know Elijah Wood was the other boy. But McCulkin absolutely kills this role. I think it's one of the best, if not his best performances as a child. It's creepy. It's disturbing to watch as someone who has a child now. The question in here is really hard. But overall, I really enjoy this movie. I think the ending is effective. I think it's a slow burn, so it's not like shocking everything that's happening. But yeah, I'm gonna put this in the A. I think it's up there with Candyman in terms of very, very enjoyable, very dark, very good performances. Alright, Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus. I never really liked this movie. Again, which movies are really hard for me to sit and enjoy And Hocus Pocus is kind of there for me. I definitely think this is more towards the female demographic. And it's just not for me. When my wife said there's a sequel coming, I said good for them, but I ain't watching that shit. I Know What You Did Last Summer, so, you know, they're with the craze of Scream and slasher kind of return, but being more hip. This movie came out, and I think this movie sucks, if I'm going to be honest. I think this movie and all its sequels suck, and the TV show sucks, and I really think this is like a shit-ass slasher series. I don't think it's the worst movie ever created. I just think it's one of the worst slasher series ever created, which I guess maybe is in the line of one of the worst movies ever created. But it's just not good. I don't understand the appeal of this movie. I think it's kind of shitty. But yeah, whatever. It's not for me. It's still not as bad as Buffy, though. Yo, fuck Buffy. That's #1 shit. Alright, so Interview with the Vampire. This was pretty good. It's... You know, when I watched it when I was much younger, around 12, I liked it, but I was also starting to get into Buffy and stuff, so I liked The Vampire. And then I watched it like 10 years ago, and it's good at parts, and I enjoyed it, but also, holy shit, is it slow sometimes. But overall, I mean, the performances, Tom Cruise was like, wow in this for me, and he's not always wow for me. I know a lot of people like him, but anyway, I think it's gonna go up there with the high C. I still think it's the performance wise is really good, but some of the plotting is Jesus Christ. All right, so it's the TV show, so not the new ones that came out in the later 2000s. I've never been a major fan of these. It doesn't help that I read the books, or the book later, and it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite book of all time. I even had a tattoo of Pennywise's fucking face. Now, I did get this before the movies, by the way, the new ones. But yeah, the TV show, you know, it's God, it's corny. It's fucking corny. I thought it was corny when I was a kid. Now, of course, to some people, this is a very scary clown. But for me, this wasn't scary at all. And I think it's a weird thing, because when I was young, it was too fucking long, because it was broken into very two long parts. And when I'm older, I'm just like, I don't know, this is fucking corny. There's very little I like about this movie. So I'm just gonna put it in the low C, just because I think it is effective as a retelling of the story for a lot of kids of my generation, but I didn't like it. Jason Goes to Hell. Well, I'll tell you right now, this movie can go to fucking hell. This is right there with Buffy. This is a disgusting, shitty, fucking terribly acted, horse shit, cock-sucking movie, and you go right next to Buffy. Fuck you. It's like one of my most hated Friday the 13th films ever. Vampires. This is by the Halloween director, right? Oh my god, John Carpenter. I think this is his. I saw this once, and that was good enough for me. Poo. Poo-poo. Alright, Lake Placid. Yes, I love Lake Placid. So Lake Placid is about a fucking crocodile or alligator. I don't know. I can never tell the difference. I live in Florida. They all fucking look the same. They all look like they're going to eat my fucking ass. And not in the way that I like. You know what I'm saying? So Lake Placid is a big freaking crocodile, alligator. I'm just going to go crocodile, alligator every time I say him. Coming and eating people. That's what the movie is. It's nothing more than that. But you know what? It's fucking a giant crocodile / alligator. I should have looked it up what it is. I feel really fucking stupid right now. But it's in line with Deep Blue Sea. It's a movie I watched a billion times when I stayed with my dad, because I kept renting the VHS tape. And then I found out a couple of years later they made fucking 2 and 3, I think. But Lake Placid, the original, that's a beautiful B shit ass movie. It's definitely not as good as Event Horizon, Deep Blue Sea, but as a movie of my childhood, love it. Leprechaun. I've always loved these films. They're shitty. They're garbage. But they're fucking fun. And sometimes I just want to watch something fun. So a little leprechaun is going around upset that these guys, usually a bunch of, I guess, older teenagers or young adults, came and stole his pot of gold. And he don't like that shit. So he starts killing them. That's the general premise of the movie. That's the general premise of every single one of these. And I love this shit. It's fucking stupid, but great at the same time. It has Jennifer Aniston before she became, you know, big with Friends. So that's cool. Yeah, it's so stupid, but I've seen this movie about 1 billion times. So it's going to go there with Lake Placid. I'm going to put it in front of Lake Placid because I watched this movie a lot. a lot to say. All right, next up is Mimic. Mimic is pretty good. It's basically this creature who can mimic your body and appearance. So it's, you know, when I was young, it's very sexual, so I didn't really get those parts other than I said, oh, boobies. But now that I'm older, it's kind of really fucking creepy that it would, like, kind of sleep with you and mimic. Wait, no, I thought that was Species. That is Species. I have What the fuck? Did I see Mimic? I was thinking of Species. I'm losing my mind. I don't know if I see Mimic. We're gonna put that there. I'm talking about Species. Let me just put that up there. Species is a movie that my aunt actually got me into because she watched it and thought it was really creepy. And I watched it a little bit later in life, around like 13 or so, and I really liked it for what it was. It's definitely the B feel of horror movies, but that's okay. Sometimes B it is okay. Not as memorable as like Placid and Leprechaun, but it's pretty good. Alright, Misery. Yo, this shit is fucked up, man. Misery is definitely a hard watch. You know, the feeling of hopelessness in a movie for a horror can be either really terrifying or really hard to watch. And this is a hard watch for me because, one, I don't like, you know, bound and stuck and can't do anything. And this character is that throughout the entire movie and is brutally, slowly pushed to his limits and quite literally broken by the end of the movie. The book is better, for sure, but this movie is a very, very strong Stephen King adaptation. It's one of the better ones. I do put it very high up there for a lot of people. Or a lot of people would, but I also would as well. So for that and the performances, that is going into A. I really enjoyed it. Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This is such an interesting movie because there's some stuff I love about this movie and some stuff I do not fucking like. Mostly the very ending is something I don't like, but a lot of this movie worked for me. A lot of the meta commentary wasn't so much comedy. It was more of talking about, like, what if the Nightmare on Elm Street was a franchise that was big and Nancy, the actress, is now being haunted by the spirit of Freddy, basically, is what the premise is. And it's really good up until the ending. The ending was not good. And the death scene in the hospital was just a mimic of the original, but not as good, but still pretty horrifying. So, yeah, overall, I really do enjoy this movie. I don't know if I put it in an A, but it's going to go in a really high B. It's the highest B that I got here. Okay, so Scream is really fucking good. This is an auto A. Nah, fuck it. It's an S. I mean, Scream really fixed the 90s horror. I don't want to say fixed, but it ushered in a new vibe for 90s horror in a lot of ways. It was very meta. A lot of comedy mixed in, but not forceful, and it really worked for almost everybody, including myself. I always enjoyed Scream. Now, Scream is also a movie I've seen 100 times, and even though I know the obvious twist now, it's still very effective. It's still well told. It doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like plot holes. It all makes sense. Yeah, Scream is, you know, I don't really have to talk about much about it because everybody knows this movie is a fucking masterpiece. It is one of my favorite horror movies ever, but definitely in the 90s. Scream 2, I know some people really love this movie. I do not. I think it's okay. I find it really, really boring, to be honest. I just think it's not very good. But at the same time, it's not bad either. I think I'm going to put it in the C. It's kind of like where Halloween is for me. It's just better acting, obviously, than Halloween. Curse of Michael Myers. But overall, just not good. Not good that much. I didn't think it was that good. Definitely a disappointment. All right, so we're going to the Silence of the Lambs. I'm not going to talk about this movie other than it's the best movie on this fucking list. I mean, this is not only one of the best horror movies of all time. It's one of my favorite fucking movies of all time. The atmosphere is dripping with beautifulness. The acting, perfection. And it has one of my fucking favorite villains of all time. And I'm talking about both of them. Yeah, not just Hannibal, baby. Yeah, Silence of the Lambs, absolutely. If you haven't seen this movie, it holds up. I watched it about 5 years ago. It is so fucking good. Why can't we get more of these? Why? Longlegs, you did good. I enjoyed you a lot, but you're just not Silence of the Lamb. We need another one of these baby booms. All right, so Sleepy Hollow. This movie was fucking putrid and shit all mixed in one. I think this movie sucks ass, but still not as bad as Buffy, but or not as bad as Jason Goes to Hell. But right there with this fucking I Know What You Did Last Summer. Both are poo-poo-hoos. Stir of Echoes I actually just seen recently, yeah, it was okay. It was pretty cool. It was definitely a different movie than I expected it, but at the same time, it hit all the beats that I knew it was going to do throughout the movie. This is in the C, probably in the mid-C's for me, wow, so long you can't even see, but I put it right over here, as a different movie, a movie that I enjoyed but didn't love. Tremors, this is the perfection of B horror. This is the like staple for me. Like if you're gonna do B horror, it better be as fucking good as Tremors. The acting's over the top, but it's so fun. The fucking monster design in this is so cool. Yeah, I love this B horror shit. This is my favorite B horror. Fucking New Nightmare's probably a better movie, but I don't know. Tremors I saw so many times. I saw this a million times with my VHS. I saw it fucking a billion times on USA channel. I mean, this is one of my favorite B horror movies of all time. Sixth Sense, not as a big fan as other people are of this movie, but I still really, that is Sixth Sense, right? I hope it is. It has the fucking six in there, so I'm gonna say yes. I think it's a really, really good M. Night Shyamalan movie, but it does have what I call the predictableness of the ending. Now, again, back then, probably not, but for me, all these movies, as I grew up, the twist of these movies is what I expected and guessed in the beginning or middle of the movies, and this one was really easy for me to guess. But at the same time, it's still well acted, still well done, still a good movie. I'm going to put it in the B. Yeah, I'll put it right behind New Nightmare for me. I think this is a good spot. Urban Legend. I feel like I hate this movie, but I can't remember it, and I don't even know what the fuck this is. Wolf in London? I don't know. Alright, so there's my horror list. Let me try to zoom out a bit for you guys. Here we go. There we go. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so got quite a bit and haven't seen because a lot of these aren't very good, or I just can't remember if I saw them, like Mimic. These are the worst horror movies of the 90s for me. Probably not fair to put Hocus Pocus in the rest of this dog shit ass pile, but I don't like Hocus Pocus. What am I going to say? I'm honest here. But yeah, Jason Goes to Hell, Buffy, Sleepy Hollow. These are some of the worst memories of horror for me, and I will never watch these movies again. C is a lot of movies that, again, some didn't live up to the hype for me of the other in the series. Some were disappointing, and some were just okay or overhated, like these two. But pretty much B up. I would always watch these movies again. You know, I can't put Tremors or fucking Deep Blue Sea in the S when I got quality stuff like Silence of the Lambs or Scream. But at the same time, I'm going to put a little bit of my own personal flair of why I love these movies. And I think Faculty is high up there in the S because that's a movie that stuck with me. I distinctly remember parts. I remember the pool scene. I remember them testing each other in the room. Or the garage. I remember all of that. And if I can remember that 20 years later, that's a movie that stuck with me. Silence of the Lamb, another one, and Scream, another one where I've seen multiple times. I love them. I love the scenes in them, the acting. So these are all S tier, but definitely check out all the A and B tier. These are all movies I would recommend watching. If you never watched any of those, please do. They're all pretty damn good, or some amazing in the S tier. And that's my list. All right, this is almost 30 minutes. I am sorry this is so long, but I hope you enjoyed the list. If you did, hit the like button. Below, put some of your favorite 90s horror movies. I would love to see yours. And everybody, have a great day.